When talking about network attached storage servers or NAS servers, there's one brand that is synonymous with NAS, just how Kleenex is synonymous with tissue paper, and that's Synology. Today we're reviewing the DS923 Plus. We're going to take a deep look at just what makes this thing so special, so stay tuned.
Nico knows tech, all your tech tips and reviews on deck. Nico knows tech, #1 channel with the news on check.
Now, one of the main reasons that people will pick a Synology NAS array as opposed to all the countless other competitors, even some that I've covered on the channel, which may sometimes even be better in price, is the Synology OS. It tends to just work. You can upgrade it, you can expand it. The OS has tons of apps. We can add a Plex server with a click of a button, which we're going to do today, because this is going to be my media server. This is going to be my new media array for my Plex server to where I can watch all my movies like I'm watching Netflix, but better. And so we're going to go over exactly what you get. Now, everything that you get in the box is right here. We, of course, have the NAS unit, which is our 4-bay unit. And then when over here in the accessories box, we have our power adapter, 2 Ethernet cables, and 2 keys for locking the drive bays, just to make sure some kid doesn't walk by and run off with a hard drive. In the front, we also have USB 3.2. And then in the rear of the unit, we have 2 fans for cooling, very important to cool hard drives. And then we have dual gigabit, I believe. I don't know if one of them is 2 gigabit, but that's not important because we have a 10 gigabit expansion slot for if you want to buy the extra card that'll add 10 gigabit networking, which don't worry, that's what we're gonna be doing today. We also have eSATA for expandability. There's other units that you can also get to add more drives to your existing array. On the bottom of the unit, we have even more expandability. We have 2 NVMe M.2 slots for SSD caching or for storage. In this case, I'm going to do both. I'm going to use this Kingston 512 SSD for SSD caching, and then I'm going to put this SK Hynix 2 terabyte for lightning fast flash storage. But let's get to installing these and then put in our hard drives. Now let's get the hard drives installed, but before we do that, you want to make sure that you have the correct kind of hard drive for a NAS array. They need to be designed to work in an array, be running all the time, and then they even talk to each other so that they don't get into a weird synchronization where they make the unit wobble, and that's actually very bad for the drives. In this case, Synology sent me 4 terabyte of their HAT 3300s, which are very good drives. These are what I would call as good as a Seagate Iron Wolf, which is obviously a very favorite in the NAS community, better than a WD Red Plus, which is 5400 RPM, and I would say as good or better than a WD Red Pro. They're a true competitor in the NAS industry. I mean, they're Synology, so yeah, they know what they're doing. So we have 4 terabytes drives in here. We're going to install them in now, and we're going to do this in RAID 5. Ideally, if you're going to do this kind of fit configuration, you want to have all matching drives. Ideally, the same brand, doesn't have to be all the time, but it's better. Same size. But Synology does have a way where you can mix and match them, but we're going to stick to RAID 5, so we're going to have all matching drives. Let's go ahead and get them installed. All right, now that our hard drives are all installed and we're good to go, we can go ahead and take this upstairs to the router. If you're following along, you can take it to your router and follow along. So now that our Synology NAS is fully connected and powered on, all we have to do is find it over the network, and Synology makes it really simple. You just open up a browser and type find.synology.com, and then it's going to search the network and find any Synology NASs that we have connected. All right, once it's found your Synology NAS, go ahead and click connect. We have agree to the EULA, next, continue. And then it's found its IP address. I'm going to go ahead and make that a static IP address. You don't have to. I'm just a bit of a nerd like that. All right. And now we're going to set up our Synology DS923 Plus. I'm going to install. And then we're going to we'll leave this alone because we don't have a manual update to do. Some of you ITs might have an update that you already have saved. But if you're new to Synology and you don't have anything like that, we'll just go ahead and click next. And then it's detected that all data on drives 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's our hard disk drives that we installed. So they need to be formatted. There's nothing on them anyway. They're brand new drives. This is just a warning that if you had a whole bunch of stuff there, using them in a Synology NAS in a setup like this will wipe those drives. In this case, we want that to happen. So we're going to click that we understand that and then click continue. Okay, now that the 10-minute wait is over, we're presented with this welcome screen. Welcome to DSM 7.2. DSM is the operating system, the OS of Synology that everyone loves. It's the best out there. I mean, sure, there's TrueNAS, there's Open Media Vault, but there's so many people that are trying to emulate or even try to copy the OS, mostly unsuccessfully, because Synology is the OS that is just so perfect, that I at least think is perfect. So let's go ahead and click the start button and get started. And we're going to call this Synology Media is what I'm going to call the device name. You can name this whatever you want. When you see it over the network and your devices, you want to be able to recognize it. So I called it Synology Media, and the administrator account is going to be Nico, and I'm going to choose a super duper password. Okay, and then click next. And I'll go ahead and save that to my password manager. Don't save that to your browser. Don't save any passwords to your browser. You guys got to watch some of my other videos on how you guys get your accounts hacked. It's not by people hacking your passwords. It's because you save your passwords to your browser. Don't do it. Okay, let's see. Automatically install important only. Yeah, we're going to stick with the recommended. Unless you want to be bloated with everything, go ahead and just leave this as default. And we'll click next. Create a Synology account to receive more benefits. We'll do this later. And we're going to skip anyway. I'm going to go ahead, let's see, device analytics. This is basically going to gather stuff to help improve their performance of, basically help them fix Synology stuff. I'm a privacy addict, so I'm going to disagree. I do congratulate Synology for offering us to opt in rather than forcing us to already be in it and then have us go around about to opt out. So by default, they're keeping our privacy. They're not gathering information about us or about what we're doing, even though it's non-identifiable. But by default, it's disabled, which is really cool. That's actually something I respect about Synology. So we're going to go leave that. We're going to hit the next button. And then we have our interface, which is actually kind of clean and nice. We have a couple of offerings right here: Synology Drive Server, Synology Office, Synology Photos. If you want, you can install them, but right now I'm going to go ahead and hit no thanks because we're going to make a Plex media server. And two-factor authentication, I do recommend you enable this. I'm not going to for this one because it's just going to be movies. There's nothing private there, and it's more for smart devices and dumb devices and phones to be able to access it anywhere. So I'm going to do remind me later. And then I don't want to secure my account, not yet. Actually, I'll do that later. Do it later. Okay, so now that we're here, once you're here, we have to create our storage pool because yeah, we have our 4 hard drives there, but they're not actually a pool that we can use, a storage center, a drive that we can map. So we're going to create one, and then we're going to go ahead and click Start. And then there's 2 types, there's several types of file systems you can do, the RAID types. There's the Synology HR, which allows you to kind of have mix and match drives. We're going to do RAID 5. And for those of you that don't know what this is you need a minimum of 3 hard drives, and you can lose 1. We have 4 hard drives, and we can lose 1 if one dies. Act of God, fails, defective, whatever. We can replace that 1 drive, put another one in, an identical drive, and then we get our array back. We don't lose our data if 1 drive fails. So since we have 4 drives, we have 1 drive fault tolerance. So this is going to be great. Then we'll click Next. We're going to, let's see, we're going to select all of them because we're going to do all drives being one 10.9 terabyte array. Now you'll notice that we should be closer to 16 terabyte since we have 4 terabyte drives, but we're doing RAID 5, so one of the drives is basically parity. That's the simplest way. That's not the exact way to explain it, but that's the simplest way to explain it to people who might not understand. We're using a lot of extra space. We're sacrificing that extra space so that if one of the drive fails, we don't lose all of our stuff. We can replace the drive, and then 24 hours later, we have our drive array. Let's see. There are 2 drives that do not meet the drive requirements. What that's detecting is that's my 2 SSDs, the 512 and the 2 terabyte. We're going to get to that after. So I'm going to select all these drives. You can do multiple pools, but in this case, the best for a 4 drive, I think, is this way. So we're going to click Next. Total capacity. Nice. We're going to leave everything. We're going to click Max right here. Boom. We want this one pool to using all those 4 hard drives. Then Next. And then BTRFS is a very good file system, and I'm going to leave it there. Some of you Linux gurus might prefer ext4 for whatever reasons, or for older versions of Synology, but I'm going to stick with BTRFS. Fantastic file system for RAID arrays. I mean, arguably ZFS is better, but hey, it's what we have. I'm not going to encrypt this volume. If you're worried about your NAS array being physically stolen, or somebody coming into your house and literally pulling drives and walking out the door with them, encryption may be something that you want to consider. For this case, this is going to be a media server. I don't need to be decrypting the drive every time it's get accessed. So I'm going to go ahead and not encrypt the volume. But if this is going to be mission critical, corporate secrets, or you're at risk of somebody walking in and taking your NAS and that data being very vital to you and very valuable to someone else, you may consider encrypting the volume. But in my case, we're just going to not do that. All of this looks fine. We're going to click Apply. It's again letting us know that all the data on these blank drives is going to be erased, so that's okay. And it's creating the pool. Okay, now we have a storage pool, but we're not done there. We're going to go ahead and click up to the top and go to the main menu. And then we're going to go to File Station, and we have no shared folder available. So in order for us to be able to access this as a network drive over here, we want to be able to save things and send stuff from our computers, and I need to migrate all my movies over. We need to be able to access it. So we need to create shared folders. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And it's already giving us a wizard. So this one's going to be movies, description, movies. We're not going to hide it in my network places, and we're not going to restrict it to administrators only. Since this is just movies, we need smart devices and TVs to access it. We don't want to restrict it to just administrators. Now, if you're going to be using this in an office and you want to restrict this particular shared folder only to administrators, like you're the boss of the company and you don't want the person that answers the phone be able to access all the corporate data, you may be considering that. But we'll cover permissions in more depth in another video. Subscribe for more. Okay, and we're not going to add extra security. And then here's some advanced settings where we can enable data checksum for advanced data integrity. If this is mission critical documents, photos, things like that, and you're worried that they might get damaged and you want to be able to ensure data integrity and self-healing, then I would recommend enabling this. But since this is a media server and it's movies, data integrity is not a really big deal, so I'd rather just skip that. So in my case, I'm going to click next. If this is going to be documents and other types of important data, backups, I recommend that you do enable that, but I'm not going to for my case. Then next. And you can also create, this could be movies here. You can create another shared one that does involve that extra protection. Okay, so here is where we can configure the permissions for this shared folder. We're going to have guest with read and write. And of course me and admin with read and write. Actually, guest, which is TVs, don't need to write to it. But you know what? It's okay. My network's secure. So I want guests to have read and write privileges because they're smart TVs. This is just for streaming. Ideally, you would want to create other users like secretaries, the mailroom, guests, the kids, and you would not want to have necessarily, you may or may not want your kids to be able to save and delete everything. So if you have a kid account here and they have read and write access, they can delete the entire array just with their computer. So important to take that into consideration. In my house, I don't have small children that have access to computers, so we're okay. Okay, now that we have a shared folder, let's go ahead and see if we can map it. We're gonna go ahead and open up File Explorer, and then under the Network tab, I've already detected, I of course already have my other stuff here. I have Synology Media. I'll go ahead and double click on that, and it's probably gonna prompt me for my username that I just created through Synology. And I'm gonna remember the credentials and then click OK. And then look, the movies folder that I created over here, that shared folder we just created, I can see it right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and right click on that, and I'm gonna map network drive. And everything's fine. I click finish. And now if I go down here, my drive W is Synology. So right here, I can copy and paste things here. There's a recycle bin, which is just a feature for recycling. So if I delete something, it will actually be recycled first, so I can undelete things if I make a mistake. But now I can go straight to copying my movies that are over here. I'll go ahead and copy this. And I think I'm only routing at a gigabit right now. So let's go ahead and do it. Copy and paste. Yep, I can read and write. I'm sending stuff over. We're getting gigabit speeds. So very good. So everything's working there. So that's that. As far as setting up the Synology, we're actually done as far as being able to transfer all of my movies over. But I want to show you what all this does. So what makes Synology so awesome is the fact that we can just add apps, all these different features, all kinds of things. We're going to go over to all packages, active backup. You can do virtualization, run virtual machines. Just everything in here is just click install, almost like the App Store or Google Play. Any feature you want this server to do, you can make it a full server. But what I've already done is transferred over 7 terabytes from all of my other storage devices and other NASs, just my movies and TV shows, over to the Synology to do this. I set up my Synology as an ultimate media server just by going to the package center and then installing Plex, which is a media server software. It's actually a server that can turn your NAS and your library to stream over your network or even over the internet. I just clicked here to install it, followed a few steps, logged into my Plex account. If you don't have a Plex account, then you just create one. It's free. But I have all of the movies, my 7 terabytes of movies and TV shows here automatically itemized by genre, and it has descriptions and posters automatically downloaded over the internet. It downloads the subtitles I want, whatever settings. I limited it just to movies and TV shows. So here I have it separated by comedy, and then I can just change it to animation, comedy, anime, anything. And then my TV shows, I've been catching up on Game of Thrones, and I can't just watch it just off my PC, but I can also stream it to my smart TVs, all my tablets, my phones. My kids can watch it. So my entire library is now available over my network like Netflix, except faster and with much more features, and I don't have to listen to ads or anything like that. And it's free. So it's awesome. And congratulations on staying with me till the end of the video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you like it, smash that like button. And if you'd like some more, consider hitting that subscribe button below. And I shall see you next time.